Yeah, how's it going, guys? Alex here with me.
What's up, everybody?
We're going to go a little bit more off the cuff today on this podcast. We're going to try to keep it honed into probably just 2 or 3 small topics. Number one, we're going to kind of talk about our fully customizable, hormone programs, vitamin programs, things like that at, our Vital Force Therapy and Wellness Clinic in-house here in Hoover, Alabama. But then we're also going to kind of touch on blood work you can get on our Vital Force RX page as kind of the, a sister company. It's totally separate, but we're going to kind of go over the different options there and kind of see what fits best for most people, and kind of get into that a little bit.
So the benefits of that is, obviously people who are local in Birmingham and Hoover, they can, pop in, they can, go through the full workup, which we'll kind of go over on, becoming a patient, getting the, coming into the wellness clinic, and they have everything from, prescriptions to blood works to IV treatments and things like that. But then also you're able to, it allows Ryan to provide, athletes more so who are out of state or, in Jasper or, Huntsville or somewhere where it's not feasible to pop into Hoover all the time. But you can still kind of go through somewhat of the same, kind of
that similar regimen,
as people are here, without having, let's say you need little fixes here and there. Hey, my digestion's off. Hey, I feel, my hormones are off. I'm tired all the time. You can kind of make an appointment that way and say, hey, I just need a few of my blood work.
Yeah, because a lot of coaches out there in bodybuilding, and not just bodybuilding now, all the different realms of, athletics, they want their clients getting blood work to make sure they're in tip-top shape, staying healthy, recovering from their routines, whatever it may be, whether you're a pro tennis player, golfer, et cetera, like we've discussed in other podcasts. Everybody wants to make sure they're on top of their game, especially when it comes to that pro world. Even if you're not a pro and you're just your rookie guy that works out and still just wants to make sure they're healthy, we have options all the way from A to Z for that. And that's going to be the big thing that really helps out. Because everybody needs to be getting checked. Most people come into the clinic even per se, we'll ask them last time they had a physical or had a set of labs done, and most people are 3 to 5 years out and have no idea what's going on internally. They just say, hey, I feel okay on the outside, I have a few symptoms, but every time we do the blood work, there's just a multitude of things that again may not be really far off, but we can even optimize those, and they don't really realize how good they can truly feel.
Right. Yeah, and that's something too, like as a coach, even like with athletes, they'll complain their sleep is off or their, digestion's off, or they can't seem to wake up, or, they just can't really get going in the gym. And my first question is always, well, when was your last set of blood work? And 9 times out of 10, it's always, a year ago or my last
year
physical,
or more
my
every
last
time.
physical. So, I personally think that blood work every quarter, I think 3-4 times a year is great. And that's one thing I was a big fan of with Ryan doing the mini panels, which we'll get into. A lot of times, if you kind of explain some of your symptoms, it's either your doctor or your coach or somebody, or we explain them to Ryan, he usually can kind of break down, hey man, it's probably going to be one of these 3 markers right here we need to look for, so we can kind of check with a smaller panel, saving the athletes money, and so on and so forth from there. But yeah, that's kind of what I liked about it. So we're going to kind of get into the steps on one, becoming a patient and being like an in-house clinic, and then we're going to go into kind of what it'd be using the telemedicine.
Yeah, kind of the telemedicine, but a separate kind of sister company on the RX page for more of the athletes or people who are they're already buying our products on the VitalForceRx.com page, but they want that little extra. And again, we can offer those mini panels to them, a couple of times a year, every quarter, whatever they'd like. And then if you buy so much product online where you get to that, you'll actually get free blood work panels. So to kind of start off, we'll shift gears and head back to, the local hormone clinic here in Hoover. So if you want to become a new patient, whether you're in town or out of town, if you live in a telemedicine compliant state, as long as we follow those rules, we can still treat people out of state. There's just certain parameters we follow, and we get into that obviously once we onboarded you and let you know what state you're in and give you those parameters. But as far as that goes, let's say you do want to come to the clinic, you can walk in at any point in time. We recommend coming in fasted, water only for lab panels, and that's obviously going to be first thing in the morning when people wake up. You'll come in, you'll fill out your new patient paperwork. You're going to have about a 20-minute consultation with one of our specialists, whether it's our MD, nurse practitioner, me, the clinic director, or one of our patient coordinators. They're going to sit down with you, go through everything you filled on your paperwork, find out what list of symptoms you have going on so we can kind of choose the right path that works for you. Most of the time, that's going to be getting our comprehensive lab panel, which is about 5 pages of blood work. It's going to range from, your CBC, which is your red blood cells, white blood cells, things like that. You're going to get your blood sugar, hemoglobin A1C. You're going to get liver test, kidney test. We're going to have, full hormone panel. We're going to have a full thyroid panel, pretty much every vitamin, magnesium. The list goes on. There's a lot of markers there. So you're going to get that panel done. And then we're going to schedule you to come back. Blood work usually comes back in 48 hours for the full sit down. And you have a full hour review, again, with one of those people that I listed earlier. To review it, you'll have a custom program that was built by our medical director, specifically tailored for you to hone in and optimize your health. Once we go through that, we'll start your program. And then there's obviously 24/7 monitoring. So it's kind of like a almost, concierge service. So you're going to have access to our doctors, our clinic director, our patient coordinators, things like that at all times if you have issues, so we can obviously adjust and monitor your program, because the regular doctors aren't having that, and that's really what you need when it comes to hormones, thyroid, vitamins, because your lifestyle, your exercise, your daily habits, the seasons, all those affect your hormones and how things change. So once we get you started on the program, it's just that monitoring, and kind of like Alex said earlier, what we do is once you're on the program, you're going to get a second set of labs at your 6-week mark, so we can make adjustments if you are on hormones or growth hormone, peptides, things like that, vitamin level adjustments. Then, we usually recommend a minimum of going 6 months. Every 6 months, we want labs after that to kind of adjust your plan, make sure you're staying optimum. But again, some patients love it and they do it quarterly, like Alex was saying. So it depends on, it kind of depends on your genre, whether you're a pro bodybuilder, tennis player, you're kind of soccer mom with kids that just wants to keep up. We're going to custom tailor all those things specifically for you. You have anything to add to that, Alex?
Yeah, well, that was just something big. It's unfortunate that a lot of primary care physicians don't offer I'll recommend to clients that, hey, I want you to get your blood work done, and their blood work panels is very minimal.
Correct. Yeah, it's usually a 1-page panel. You're going to get a CBC, a metabolic panel, again, which is going to be like, probably the kidney function and your electrolytes. And they might do, if they do a thyroid panel, it's usually this TSH. So in our panel, you're going to get all 7 markers. So you're going to get TSH, total T4, T3, free T3, T4, and both of your antibodies to see if you have any precedence to develop, Hashimoto's, Graves', a thyroiditis type condition or disease of the thyroid that can definitely throw things off for you. So ours are very comprehensive. Every one of our tests are comprehensive. You can go look at that full panel on the website. So you can go to vitalforceal.com and go to the testing page, and you can actually see every one of those tests broken down, each marker, if you want more information on that too.
And that's very big, because like you were saying, if you're, we'll use the thyroid, for example, if you're looking for just your TSH, and that's all you see. And
TSH is going to go up and down throughout every month, depending on, what people don't realize. One big thing real quick, guys. Yeah, so say in the wintertime, are these guys that are in Alaska and they're on the boats. So when you're cold, your body's going to burn through more, say, free T3. Because say in the winter, we have to upregulate patients' thyroid medication. In the summer, we can actually bring it down because you don't burn through as much. Just that one example of a temperature regulation, which everybody knows. Well, when it comes to thyroid, people ask, what's the symptom? Are your hands or feet cold? Well, but people don't connect the dots and go, okay, temperature outside actually can affect how much of my thyroid I'm using and burning versus how much I'm producing. So you're always going to see an up and down of that TSH. So the best marker to really know where you are is your free T3. That's going to be your biggest indicator. In most primary cares, like I was saying, they don't even draw that. I mean, you have to specialize for it, and even then, a lot of times they don't want to do it because they don't have any real reasoning. So us being a specialized hormone clinic, we can easily do that no problem.
Yeah, because like you said, your TSH might come back within range or maybe a little higher, but your T3 could be through the roof, or it could be bottomed out, but your TSH is still kind of within range.
Exactly. If you don't have that whole panel to put the pieces together, you're not really going to know the full picture.
So that's kind of the benefit of getting that in depth on blood work, and then too, a lot of times I see with regular physicians is if they don't see any they're limiting themselves to, let's say 1 page of blood work, and they're not seeing the full spectrum. And then they'll start to diagnose, oh, well, you're tired all the time. Okay, well, let's give you some antidepressants, or let's give you some anti-anxiety medicine.
So basically what I say is they're treating the patient on the paper too. Yeah. They're not combining the blood work numbers with the patient that's in front of them. So they're diagnosing based off the blood work alone, and that doesn't really give you a detailed, true customized care plan like it does when you really find the full picture. Right. And that's one of the big problems that we see with patients coming into the clinic. Is that, they'll go to the doctor and the patient will say, well, I have all these symptoms, but their blood work comes back normal within range. Again, there's a medical range and there's a functional range. Right. So even on the blood work that we do, we know that there's still medical ranges. We have our own parameters we look at. For example, the thyroid. Let's say you're T3. The range on our lab panels come back 2 to 4.9 or pretty much 5. That's a big range. That's 3 points. We want to be between 3.6 and 4.2 to truly be kind of optimum where you should be. That's not too high, not too low. But again, the medical doctor, if you're at 2.0, they say you're fine. But again, you could be having thinning hair, cold hands and feet, and most time they just overlook that. At least that's what we see in our clinic. And that's where kind of the problem lies.
And that's super unfortunate. That's one thing, even with weight loss and things that people...
Yeah, they can't lose weight because the thyroid's not optimized.
Yeah, or they'll automatically assume, well, I have a thyroid problem. And it could be, their T4 is just through the roof. But
it could be B vitamins.
Yeah. But, a simple, what's so interesting about blood work is sometimes too high of a hormone makes it feel like as if it was too low. But like if your T4 is through the roof, you're going to see the same, side effects.
Too much is a bad thing, and not enough is a bad thing.
So that's why, preaching that, okay, we want that optimal range is so important. So that's kind of why, me personally, I'm a big fan of everything going on here with that. So that would be kind of, would that be the first step? Okay, they make the appointment online, or they can walk in the morning.
Yeah, so if we actually want to put it in steps, step one is walk in fasted to get your labs done. You don't need an appointment, or just book it on the website on VitalForceAL.com on the Acuity Scheduler. There's a scheduling page. You're going to walk in. Second step will be fill out the paperwork, do the consultation, and then get your blood work done. Step 3 is come back for the second appointment to sit down. The program's been built. We go over it. Any new stuff you tell us, new information, we can make small minor tweaks, find out what works for you, what's best for you as the patient, and then obviously what's going on. And then step 4 is obviously, you're in the program, we go 6 weeks, and then we do a lab redraw to kind of hone in what we call the sweet spot on hormones, vitamins, et cetera, and how you feel. We want to match up that blood work with how the patient feels. And at that point, we're rocking and rolling, and everybody's happy. And we know that, whatever the case is, again, soccer mom, pro athlete, your everyday person that just doesn't feel good, we know we have them honed in and they're feeling amazing.
I like that. So then what would be on the flip side? Let's say I have a client in Florida, and
right. Okay.
They're not budging. So 6 weeks has gone by. They're retaining water. Their digestion's off. I'm thinking, okay, there's got to be a hormone imbalance. There's thyroid, or their estrogen's off, or progesterone maybe.
So if they're an out of town client, what we're going to do, say Alex sends me an out of town client, he's going to call the clinic. He'll say, hey, we want to get set up. We want to get blood work done. So, basically over the phone, he'll pay for a lab work kit. We will actually have our lab company mail that kit directly to his house. That's usually a 45-day turnaround time upon payment, to get to him. He'll take it to any lab test in his city. So, LabCorp, Quest, wherever he can have, his labs drawn. They will send them back to our company, and they pop up on our portal system here. So as soon as they come back, again, that's usually about a week period, we will build a program the exact same way. Then we will call them and do a, kind of telemedicine conference call to review the blood work instead of obviously sitting down in person. Once that's done, again, the program's been built. All they'll have to do is take one of our physical forms if they're going to get, a controlled substance, or they're going to get, growth hormone peptides. They'll just have to have a physical to make sure they're healthy and safe enough to do that. And then boom, they'll make their payments, set the program up, and then we'll obviously ship their medications directly to their home. And then we have an automated recurring program if they stay on it and they get their medications like clockwork. And then we do the same process of, lab redraws, monitoring, and make sure they're staying on point with, whoever else is helping them with their diet, nutrition, like if Alex is taking care of them, that kind of thing.
That's big, man. Yeah, because that was something that I'm sure you're familiar with. What, 3 or 4 years ago, we in Alabama, we were having to go to a guy in Miami or a guy in Atlanta or a guy in Tennessee to do telemedicine.
There was nothing offered here at all. We're kind of the first clinic of its kind.
Yeah.
That really has a one-stop shop.
Yeah. So
and kind of shifting gears a little bit, if we go to kind of what Alex was talking about earlier, if you're out of town or you're in town, but you really don't want that much attention to detail, but you want to get the same quality, let's say you're already buying our products online, on VitalForceRx.com, you're using some of our supplements, say like our Nox Energy or our Estrogen Balance or our DHEA for like men's hormone support. But you really want to know what's going on a little bit more, but you just are kind of leery of just diving in as deep as we just talked about. We have our kind of medical resources page. It's kind of a separate company. You can click on that, and then you can get kind of what we call our mini panel. So number one, if you buy more than $300 of product at one time on the site, you'll actually get a free mini panel up to twice a year. If you just want to purchase it, you can still purchase that mini panel for like $199. Price subject to change, obviously, but we've got it set at $199 right now. That's going to include a hemoglobin and hematocrit. It's going to include, your hormones. It's going to include some vitamin levels. So it's a really good place to start for about half the price.
And they can pick which one.
Exactly. So yeah, there'll be some options on the site for that. You'll be able to choose that. Then once you do, if you qualify, you'll call, you'll buy that online. You'll basically, it'll book an appointment time. A patient coordinator will reach out. See if you're a good fit. We'll obviously mail out that kit to you just like we did before. Once that comes back, we'll have someone separate give you a call. Same thing, get a physical done in your hometown if you're out of town. And then basically, we'll be able to do growth hormone peptides and things like that. That'll be the biggest thing. So recovery, injectable amino acids. We'll have a list of those online that you'll all be able to look at on the RX page. So that's going to be more of that fitness world, smaller panel. They won't be as customized, but it's a good place to start, and people can kind of know where they are in their health.
Yeah, and that's big too because especially in the fitness world. Let's say I'm paying $200 a month for CrossFit. I've got 2 kids. I've got a meal prep company. Finances are you're spending a lot already. Within the fitness industry. So to budget sometimes it's a lot easier. But hey, well $200, I can go check my blood work out real quick.
Right.
It's kind of like a sneak peek, and then
you can hone in too, because a lot of people are buying products that they may not even necessarily need, so they can save money if you do that mini panel, and then we can kind of recommend what you really need to be on based on that. And then that way too, it's going, hey, well, I'm buying these 8 products and I'm spending $300 a month, even if they're not from our website, somewhere else. You're going into supplement shop and buying stuff. You can tell us that, and then we can kind of recommend based off that blood work. Well, hey, you really probably don't need this one and this one. You're wasting your money a little bit. Right. Let's hone in and get more specific, so that helps with your budget and saving your money too, all off that one set of lab work.
And that's really big. Like honestly, that's really big of VitaForce to be offering that because with their products that they have stuff for kidneys, for blood pressure, for joints, for testosterone, for estrogen.
Yeah.
So
anti-aging, women's health bundles.
Yeah, you're basically getting you're giving them an insurance policy on like, hey, you're taking our supplements now. We can show you on blood work that it's actually working.
Right.
Because hey,
show you it's working, and then what you need and what you don't need. Because we don't want you to buy products from even us that you don't necessarily need.
Right.
We don't want you to waste your money. We want you to just get what you need for your body, because every patient's different.
Right.
Every person needs different things.
I think it's big. Yeah. And that's one of my favorite injectable peptides and stuff. They're kind of new, I would say. But my favorite is the carnitine. We have
injectable carnitine. We have obviously glutamine, your injectable BCAAs. We're going to have lots of different ones you'll be able to go on the site and look at on that peptide and recovery kind of resource page. When you go to the medical resources, you'll be able to look at every single one of those. We'll have MK677, which is going to be a growth hormone peptide that upregulates ghrelin, so it increases your appetite. It's going to make you hungry. I know a lot of the pros that are using that right now can build lots of muscle on it. Again, it's safe and very effective. Okay. CJC 1295, we're going to have ipamorelin, Simorelin, which is kind of an anti-aging, helps you with REM sleep, fat loss, you name it. You can go look at all the studies on a lot of those peptides. They have lots and lots of studies out now where they're very effective, and they work really, really well, but they're very, very safe, much more safe than say a real growth hormone or something like that.
Yeah, that, and then too, the MK677 is a lot. You'll see that sold in a lot of small nutrition stores,
right?
In a pill form. You don't really know if it.
You don't know what you're
really
getting.
Is.
Yeah.
So that, and then too, it being that's injectable as well, right?
So the MK is an oral capsule.
Oral capsule.
But then, like our CJC, you can get that in a sublingual under the tongue form, which is still very effective because it's getting into the bloodstream through those salivary glands.
Right.
So it's not still being broken down through the gut. And then obviously we have the injectable versions too. So we have options. So again, some women may not want to inject a growth hormone peptide, but they want the anti-aging benefit. Well, that's great. We have a sublingual version that they can do under the tongue. And they're like, man, that's amazing because I don't like needles, and easily you can do something under the tongue that dissolves in less than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And they love it. It works very, very well. And it's just as effective. So
that's huge. Yeah. I'm super excited to have access to that one. And then two, to be actually having clients to use it, because I use L-carnitine, for example, because so many people use the liquid version. They'll buy it from a nutrition store for like $20, and it's cheap, and then it's not near as good as the
right. Well, a lot of time too, people realize too with the oral L-carnitine and stuff, you get that really fishy smell.
Yeah.
From what I've seen with the injectable, we haven't had anyone that really comes back complaining of that, and we have patients all the time, or just people in general that we know from the gyms anywhere that'll go, man, I'm taking L-carnitine and I just smell terrible. My girlfriend or my coworkers say I just smell like dead fish. Well, number one, we're taking a little too much, but it's just it's a bad side effect of that L-carnitine. It does not smell good.
I've actually I've prepped twice with injectable carnitine. I loved it. Yeah. So having access to it, I'm not having to go on some backdoor websites to find it anymore. So I'm super excited about that. That's awesome.
All right, guys. Well, definitely like in the comments, tell us next subject you want us to talk about, anything new, cutting edge. If you have questions about it or anything we've talked about today that y'all want us to expand on, let us know. Like you said, like it, put it in the comments, and we'll see y'all guys next week.
Sounds good. See you next time, guys.